In HBO series Game of Thrones, character Littlefinger said, "Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder." Well, this show had chaos everywhere in a good way. And it wasn't a pit. This band continues to climb the level of song rarity, song variety, and throwing as many deep cuts they can around some of the hits. These boys have something to say, and what they're saying is, listen, if you want to follow this band around, you're going to get variety, you're going to get shock and awe, and this isn't your typical tour. The D&B Post Show stream starts now.
Roll out sound to midnight, then roll on downtown till it's light. Because tomorrow we may die, oh, but tonight we're dancing in the fate life. Don't you rob yourself of what you
It's your boy Concert Viz 34 back at home.
What up? What up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34.
Yep, so your boy Concert Viz 34 coming to you here.
What up? What up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34. Aria. Okay, so this is Aria, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and about your love for the Dave Matthews Band.
I've been a fan of the band since April 28, 1998, and if you recognize the date, that's when Before These Crowded Streets was released.
Alpine is definitely a better venue than Summerfest, but we'll take it. I think I've been going to shows for about 20-something years.
I always tell people, like, compare DMB to now to when I first started, and I got started, in my opinion, I feel like I got started late. Like, I was at the very end of the band's prime. I feel like that 03 to 06 was like the end of the prime. 07, 08 was like, you know, we're at the very end, and then when Roy passed.
But Dave really, this is the thing, Dave has put, where Sean has been assigned the quarterback of this team. He is the coach, the play caller. He designs the jams. Dave just shows up and plays whatever he's going to play. Chi-Town, what up? Rosemont, what up? Shout out to my favorite city, Evanston, Illinois. It's a hidden gem. Crystal Lake, what up? Pequod's Pizza, what up? Hammond, Indiana, what up? Schaumburg, what up? Shout out Waukegan. Got some family friends that born there. Shout out to all the sailors in North Chicago. My brother just graduated basic training earlier this year there. Go Navy. Beat Army. Shout out Southern Wisconsin. Kenosha. Racine. When that road looks like an air traffic, like a runway, you know you're in Wisconsin. And you escape the Chicago taxes. Shout out US 41. I-90, Lord have mercy, there's always traffic on I-90 in Chirac. US 41. Shout out to that 290 connected to the western suburbs. Lakeshore Drive, what up? Shout out to the Skyway. Get taxed every 3/4 mile. Every 3 feet you get taxed on the Skyway. I learned the hard way. What up? What up? It's your boy Conserviz 34. I love Chicago. I'm not there. I'm home here in Connecticut. But I am so happy for everyone who is out there in Chi-Town for these shows. I just referenced Game of Thrones to open this show. I want to continue with the HBO references with my favorite series of all time, The Wire. There is an episode where two of the detectives, Bunk and his homeboy Jimmy McNulty, they're at a crime scene of a homicide in this apartment of this woman who was messing with a drug dealer and she was murdered somehow. And in that episode, they come into this apartment, they walk around the apartment, they get access, someone gives them a key, and they just start cursing left and right. Mother, good mother, good mother. They start cursing. But what they're doing with those expletives they're saying out of their mouth, every time they're saying a curse word, they're discovering how the bullet came from someone shooting from the outside into the house. And that's how this person was murdered. They're solving the murder and they're cursing every time they find a trajectory, they find everything lining up. That's exactly how I feel about experiencing this tour so far just from the couch. There's so much the reason I came on so late, there's so much to analyze about this tour. There is with every tour, but I'm just so overwhelmed trying to find, okay, when did this last happen? When did this last happen? How is it that this show has only Rye Whiskey and Crash Into Me? Those are the only two repeats from Alpharetta, which was the show before Chicago Night 1. How in the world do we have this many songs? Over 100 songs have been played this tour, and we are not even in July. And this is just the overglazing theme of this tour. This band, the best way I can describe it is these sets, they're chaotic in a good way. But it's almost like they have some sort of AI machine or technology where they're pulling all of the wants and needs from DMB family, from the couch tour, and some of the other Facebook groups where you have a lot of fans who just want this band to do covers of non-DMB songs, or they want them to play the hits, or they want that song that was at their wedding, You and Me, right? We Can Do Anything. They're taking those fans, which, by the way, the majority of the fans want that. But they're taking all that data and they're picking spots to play some of those songs, right? And then they're also taking the data from Ants Marching and from the people like me who love deep cuts, and they're saying, what can we do tonight, to throw in a couple of deep cuts? What can we do to confuse them by having Proudest Monkey in the Satellite, which is a mainstream fan's best friend, but those who like deep cuts go to the bathroom. What can we do to freak them out and play What You Are after that? And before that, we have Stone and So Right. These shows are chaotic. And guess what? I'm embracing it. My friend Megan said some people were complaining, some dudes were complaining to her like last night, the show didn't flow right. What? Who cares? Last night we had a bartender closer. It didn't flow right. Okay, was it better when they were playing Virginia in the Rain a couple years ago, early on in shows on Saturday nights? I don't care about if it flows. It doesn't. I need to be massaged. Then I need to be fed dinner. And then you have to tell me you love. What? Come on, son. Just play the bangers. Do y'all need Dave Matthews to go personally to your house and say, is there anything else you need from this set? These sets are phenomenal. And they have something for everyone. This is not just about one individual perspective. These sets give people from various angles of this fan base, of an eclectic fan base, of a band that can cross genres left and right. They're giving everything to everybody. You know why? You know how you know this show is good when because someone's always going to complain. The only complaints we're hearing, somebody said, I can't believe they closed with PNP and the Pig. They should have closed out with Watchtower or Ants Marching. Bro, what? On Reddit. Like, what? And again, to each their own. But we've had shows close out with Ants Marching. We've had tons of shows close out with Watchtower. Trust me, I've had like 3 or 4 of them myself where like Watchtower was the closer. This is the time where they're actually mixing things up. And the only complaints are, what happened to What Would You Say? Why hasn't Crush been played in so long? Like when those are the complaints, you know the sets are fire. Why hasn't Crush been played until tonight for the first time in 9 shows? Because they're actually playing other hits. They've been rotating. Even last year, and 2 years ago, we've seen songs over the last couple of years, like every day, get pushed out for a whole tour. And so certain songs are getting breaks. Tonight, there was no Jimmy thing. Now, they played it in Alpharetta, but still, to be able to just go through a 2-night stand in Chicago and not have Jimmy thing and have other songs, right? Some of them mainstream, some of them in the middle, some of them very deep cuts. It's a beautiful thing. And yes, there's still a lot on the table, but we got to pace ourselves. Guys, I told you this before. This band does not turn up until July. But if this is how June is, can you imagine how great July is going to be? Again, across the board. If you like covers, if you like radio hits, if you like other, they're serving everybody. Even people who like rye whiskey in the E1, yet again, like Alpharetta. But you've had 20 years to see songs, and they're still playing the song. They're still playing them, right? Crush was played for the 4th time today. It's been in 30% of the shows I've been to, I think. They're still playing a mix of everything. They're not isolating any specific part of the fan base except people who want, like, they need Watchtower to close every show. Yeah, let's one of the best bands around closing out shows with covers. They're stopping that. They're actually closing with their songs now instead of doing Watchtower 3 or 4 times to close out shows. The only opener that has been repeated so far is Warehouse, which has been played 3 times. And really, when you look at the data, one of those times was at a festival. Another one was the first official tour stop, right? When we were in Bethel, and that's really that first tour stop, the band has to kind of shake off a little rust, even though they had a couple festival shows. They're still kind of getting in the rhythm. So you open and watch with Warehouse. Why else do you come to shows? There are fans who are always chasing rarities. We're going to talk to Connor, who's been chasing What You Are. It's played at the Gorge a couple years ago with the drones. He's not there. He's literally been to the Gorge since then, both those years, and it just still didn't happen. He went to MSG for a trip. It had been played a couple years back. I think that was 2019 when What You Are was played there, or 2021. One of those years, because I was there. That was my first What You Are. He's, all right, I'm going to go to MSG. They don't play it there. He goes to Deer Creek every year, Alpine every time they're there, Chicago, and finally he gets it tonight. Right? And before we get to him, this is the photo. This is why. This is the why. Why do people keep going to shows? Because one song can change the trajectory of just your experience with this band. It can continue to just give you hope. Right? That's kind of right there. During What You Are, early in the show. Talk about a wild card. Proudest monkey in a satellite. No one's expecting What You Are next. Even with the Barry out. Maybe you're thinking I thought it was going to be Bayou. Right? And the hand positions are, they're in the same ballpark further down the fret. So who knows what it's going to be. And they play What You Are. Right? It starts to get dark and starts to get scary, and you get What You Are. And to me, the beauty of this band continuing, despite fans, the majority of the fans are there for the hits. But what you do is, in a market like Chicago, where you have a lot of casual fans, you have a lot of diehard fans too, but you have a lot of casual fans who want the hits. It's a major city. You have fans who won't travel outside of Chicago to Alpine, where you get more deep cuts. Connor is ecstatic because he knows this song. I guarantee you somebody was there tonight who never had heard What You Are and is like, I have to now search that song. I got to find it on Spotify when I get home or Apple Music. And to me, my biggest pitch to why deep cuts should still be played, even as some fans and some crowds don't receive them as wildly as the covers, is because slowly but surely, when you start to play Fool to Think more, when you start to play What You Are more, which, by the way, both of those songs don't need a violin in them. Both of those songs fit the DNA of this current band arrangement very well, as does So Right. A lot of these everyday deep cuts fit this band so well. The current lineup, the current energy, the current vibes. But when you play these songs, somebody goes home and does a Google search and then they become a lover of certain deep cuts. It takes being at the show. My first show ever had a Stone opener. That was in 2012. I became a fan of D&B in 2005. That Stone opener in 2012 changed my life, and it is my favorite song by the band. Before that show, it was not my favorite song. It was a song I was like, yeah, this is great. But to experience that song in Hartford in 2012, not saying, oh, I need a Stone opener, right? I was waiting for Don't Drink the Water. When is that going to happen? When is Crush? When is this? And not that those are bad songs, but as soon as I got to my first live show, it took me a while to get to my first live show. But when I heard some deep cuts over the first couple shows I went to, it changed my commitment to seeing this band. So I will always advocate, and I respect this band because they play Captain and Alpharetta, and people are quiet or they're yapping. I've heard there was mixed reviews. They play a song like Spoon, and it doesn't, even at MSG, it does not hit. I was at MSG when they opened with Spoon a couple years ago. People were like, oh. There were some fans who were very happy, depending on where you were. But some fans who, again, they go there, they only know the radio hits. They got, they're living in Manhattan, they're living in Brooklyn, right? Gentrified Brooklyn. And they're like, yes, Dave Matthews Band, let me go see them. Let's go see them. Sal, let's go see Dave Matthews Band crash into me. What would you say, huh? And they and maybe they go to a show and there's a deep cut. Maybe Spoon doesn't hit them, but maybe American Baby intro. How about that American Baby intro? That song, it's got a lot of spunk. I gotta see these boys again. Right? It can change because you take these risks, you take these chances. So I respect the band as much as I'm preaching and pushing and lobbying for these deep cuts to be heard. It's never a guarantee. All right, let me stop talking. We want to get to Connor, and he's got his set list. Let's go ahead and see if we can get audio. I'm going to unmute him here. Oh, yeah, we got audio. Connor, what do you have there, and how did you get that?
Marcus, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
So obviously, I got the set tonight from Rab, and I'm just going to address it right away. 58 shows later for me chasing What You Are, and I finally get it. The whole story is actually pretty amazing. So we run into Rodrigo, the photographer in our section, and I ask him, I'm like, I don't want to be that guy, but I've been chasing What You Are for 10 years, and I really want that set list. And he told me he didn't have the set on him, so he gave me and everyone in our group a pick that Stefan uses. So that was a pretty cool consolation prize. But a few songs later, Rab's walking into our section, and we all just flood him. We're like, dude, I've been chasing What You Are for 10 years. We show him the videos and everything, and Rab's like, stay put, I'm coming back. And during Pig, he comes over, puts the set list in my hand, and just runs away because he knew we were all going to flood him again. So, yeah, I got the set list from Rab. Probably my favorite show I've ever been to. This whole set, wall-to-wall show, it's a flawless night.
That's awesome. And the Pop Jane Likes just had him on, And one of the things he learned as he became a part of this DMB family, part of the fan base, is how valuable that is. So that's awesome that you got that. You'll have that as a memory forever. And I'm sure you got the poster so you can put it next to the poster.
Oh, absolutely. I got the poster. I got a foil. And another funny story about getting the foil. So the venue is sponsored by Huntington Bank, which is like a local uh, bank chain or in the Chicagoland area. I don't know if they're anywhere across the United States, but the venue is run and sponsored by Huntington Bank. And they had a pre-party at the show for like a lot of the big execs who work at Huntington Bank. And I just acted like I belonged with them. I went over into their VIP line, scanned my ticket. I said, thanks for hosting us. And I was the first person inside that venue, and I got that first foil sold. I was the only one in there for like 5 minutes.
Wow. So that's a way to get the foil. And we have the poster up now. No, it's amazing what happens when there's no methane posters for an entire weekend and you get Slater, Quack, and Mazza to come in and give you a holy trinity of beloved posters. Now, were there any posters at the end of the show? Do you know?
I have no idea. We were just looking to get out. It was a madhouse getting out of there because there's multiple, everyone in the venue has to go out one gate, and they leave all the turnstiles up, so everyone has to file through those turnstiles. So I didn't look, but they had a lot of yesterday's poster available. And
Okay.
right before the show started, they had a lot of today's poster available. The foils sold out respectively. I think the Slater, the bull, sold out, but I think both of the show posters, I would assume that they were both available still after the show.
Gotcha. Okay. And so that's interesting. So let's talk about this show. You start off with the Stone and So Right, and then it goes from those two songs to Proudest Monkey Satellite. What are you like? What's going through your mind as this Proudest Monkey shifts to Satellite, and you have two bangers, then you have it slow down?
Well, I'll tell you that much. That was the easiest bathroom break of my entire life. You get the Stone and So Right, two high energy songs that Jeff Coffin just brings to the moon. Proudest Monkey, I don't get that a lot, so it's nice to listen to that. Once Satellite started, I just took a B-roll right to the bathroom and got back. I beat the bathroom line, which was really good. So I timed that one out perfectly, but I definitely thought that it would take a usual Northerly Island set list and they just continue playing the hits and songs like Jimmy Thing, Don't Drink, and Watchtower. I thought it was gonna be one of those shows once Proudest Monkey Satellite hit.
And so Dave picks up the baritone guitar. When do you first get an inkling that you're actually going to get What You Are?
So for 10 years, right, everyone around me is like, oh, it's finally it. It's going to be What You Are. And
Yeah.
it never turned out to be that way. Again, Dave picked up the baritone. I thought it was going to be the space between. I know you said it was Bayou, and yes, Bayou's waiting for you at SPAC. But anyways, Buddy was playing on like the little noodling before the song started. He was playing like the horns, what the horns play in the chorus for What You Are, that same note pattern. And Dave was kind of strumming to that chord also, and I'm like, I just know it's it this time. And I don't usually I freak out when I get a song that I want to hear, but I was literally hyperventilating when What You Are started. Like I didn't know what to do with myself. It was kind of out of control. And now, just like that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame photo, there'll be another Connor crying meme on Twitter that's never going to die. So I'll enjoy seeing that on my feed for the next few years. But it's just it's a moment that you're never going to forget. Like you try, it's to a lot of people it sounds ridiculous, but just wanting to hear them play this song for so long and to finally get it, it lifted a big weight off my shoulder, and it was just Dave delivered. It was a great iteration of that song too.
Yeah, I think it's a song. There's a video of me at MSG from I can't, is that 2021? I can't remember, whenever it was. But I think it's something where if you're just at the show and you've not had a connection to that song, it can seem lower energy because the crowd does not pop like other songs. But if you actually have heard that song, you felt that song, it's hit something in your life, it is a different feeling for that song specifically that is only in your body. It's not about the crowd. Doesn't matter who's standing up. Doesn't matter if people are going to the bathroom. As long as they're, and really you can't talk over it. So it's one of those things where, people can talk, but it's that thing's blasting through. And so I understand where you're coming from. And I think it's a song it's almost like you have to sit with that everyday record and you have to listen to that song with your earphones all the way up. You have to listen to it during a thunderstorm. You have to, for me, it was doing these jogs up a brutal hill training for a marathon, my second marathon. It just hits you. And some people, it just doesn't, right? Some people, you and me is that song. We got married to it. So it's a song some people are connected to, but other people who just want other things aren't going to be. All right, let's keep going here. So we have, obviously there's a bunch of other songs on the set, but what are some other stand-ups after what are some other standouts for you here?
There's a ton of standouts. So first of all, again and again, that's like a 10-year gap since I heard it last. That was last when they called it Bob Law and Dave was playing on the piano for that tune. So felt like a completely new song there. The Blackjack was awesome. Many people rip on Blackjack because Dave doesn't have lyrics for it. But I think that's what makes that song so special. And then the horns at the end just like bring you to the moon. Fool to Think, another great deep cut. Hunger for the Great Light, another great deep cut. The Last Stop, my favorite song. And during that last stop, the fireworks from Navy Pier were going off and we could see them from our seat. A core DMB memory for me. Just phenomenal timing that with the fireworks. And then the PNP and the Pig to close the show. Shout out to my friend AJ. He has seen both of the last Pig closers for Dave Matthews Band shows. But there's a ton that stood out from this show. And my brain is still just a jumble of spaghetti right now. But I think those are all like the standout songs for me.
Gotcha. And that Fool to Think coming back this year is a good sign there. And then The Last Stop as well. Those are two songs that you saw. Fool to Think it got more than, a little more, got to different venues. And then The Last Stop, obviously last year was arguably the song of the year as far as being distributed to all the country. But it comes back during a time where people are like, hey, maybe with the way the world is in the last couple of months, maybe The Last Stop would be appropriate. But he kept holding off, but he saves it for you guys in Chicago, and I'm sure it'll be around for at least a couple other times. Now, as far as the crowd, how was the crowd tonight compared to a typical Northerly Island Saturday?
So for songs like Blackjack, you could literally hear a pin drop. Like you could hear crickets chirping throughout all those deep cuts. Obviously, us in our group, we were going bananas and people were looking at us like we were creatures from outer space. But during the hits, especially like Crash, when Crash first started, the whole place erupted. Like that was the loudest Northerly Island crowd pop I've ever heard. And I was shocked to actually hear people yell that loud, and so many of them yell. So I guess it just varied on the song, and a lot of people were talking during those deep cuts. Luckily, we were just singing so loud that we couldn't hear the chompers, but yeah, during those rare songs like Hunger for the Great Light or Fool to Think, people were just brutal on their phones, talking, yelling, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think the best scenario with that I've learned is if they don't say anything, if it's just quiet, I can take a quiet arena or amphitheater, but the talking is the worst because instead of them just getting on their phone and being quiet, they're talking to their neighbor, their friend, whatever, and then you can't enjoy all of the power of that song, especially if there are quiet moments and you're just hearing chatter. So I always hope to have people who are just quiet and sit there versus talking during those songs. How was the weather? Was there any wind or anything? I know sometimes the wind can get out from Lake Michigan.
I mean, there was a slight breeze, which was totally fine. I thought when the sun set, it was actually perfect outside. Now, that wasn't to say that I was sweating like a hog at the end of the show from moving so much, but if we're talking specifically the weather, it was a gorgeous night, probably a perfect night for a concert. And it's unfortunate that when we go to Deer Creek in a couple weeks, it's probably going to be 20 degrees warmer because it's always so hot out there. So I'm glad to catch a show this year with perfect weather.
Yeah, and I know obviously rain can impact the 2 mile and a half, however long people have different distances, but you're one way out, and typically have to walk a bit. So it's great the weather did cooperate here. Any other things you notice as far as like just the bands, on stage, some moments of confusion, any fans fighting, anything that kind of we may not have seen at home?
Um, During the pig at the end of the show, during the second chorus, at the end of it, Dave begins to yell like it's the end of the song, but he obviously either the teleprompter messed that up or he just messed that up. And I was thinking, are they going to cut this pig short? But then it just got really quiet and they kind of regrouped. And Carter laughed at Dave. Dave had a laugh. It was pretty cool to see that. Aside from that, no other like major issues or anything crazy on stage or fans getting kicked out, stuff like that.
All right. Well, hey, I think the other chatter here, I know you'll be at Deer Creek, was if Chicago is this good, we can only imagine what will happen at Deer Creek, what they will vary from as far as giving the venue some stuff that hasn't been played at Deer Creek in a while, give them some, tour debuts, some liberation. So what are your thoughts as far as looking at Deer Creek?
Yeah, I mean, Deer Creek, first major venue of the year. My sister just mouthed beach ball in the front seat. That'd be fun to get. I think personally we can see a two-step opener there like Gorge. My expectations are going to be a little high that weekend, but definitely be a lookout for Kill the King. I heard they rehearsed that song, and I think it's coming back in a couple weeks. So stay tuned. I can totally see them doing it.
Well, listen, we can expect the unexpected given the how June has been. As we move into July, I think there's a lot to be excited about. Thanks for coming on, Connor, and get some sleep. I know these 2 night stands they can take a lot out of you.
I got to work in about 12 hours. I'm not really excited for that. I'm going to
Oh,
be in my bed until I start, and then I'm just going to be a zombie while I'm there. So
gotcha.
can't wait for Deer Creek. Thanks for having me on, and I'll chat with you later.
All right, take care. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
All right, so we want to thank Connor for coming on. Let's see. I don't see Aaron, and maybe and I know sometimes things change. But Aaron, I'll check back here. But we do have a video. I have not seen this, so just to give you guys some backstory, and I'll pull up. So my friends Jessica and Wayne, I met them actually this week at Deer Creek in 2022 in real life for the first time. Jessica had volunteered to be a guest on my stream, but I have thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with not only them but their family, their siblings and some other relatives, and then of course their children who love my parody songs. I used to make songs about them doing homework or things they were supposed to be doing in the tune of Dave Matthews Band songs. And so they all came to New Hampshire last year, and we had a blast. I went to Wisconsin before that, in June of 2024. And so we hung out. I helped Olivia with her timetables. I listened to Mason's, talks about the video games he loves and how he rides his bike and rode his bike into a ditch. And so I enjoy hanging out with them. and we had a lot of fun. We went to the park. They rode their bikes. I was running, and so Jessica decided to take just Olivia to the show. Mason isn't really, he's not really the social butterfly like Olivia, but kind of a last minute decision. They found some tickets, and just for context, Olivia's went to New Hampshire, and of course we got Live Track 69. So I don't know what it is, but I think Jessica, Wayne, Olivia, and Mason, they're bringing some good fortune to the shows that they see coming to Guilford. They were also at the Alpine show. Well, no, not the kids, just Jessica and Wayne. They were at the Alpine night 1, and they went back for the night 2. They brought me night 2, and then night 2.5 they came back without me. I was home. So we want to hear, it looks like Olivia has some things to say about the show. I have not heard this, but we'll see.
Hey Marcus, this is Olivia. Just got back from Chicago night 2. It was pretty good tonight. It was amazing. I was dancing and I traded all of my bracelets. As you can see, my favorite song was probably Gravedigger tonight. And my feet are about to fall off because I just walked a mile and a half because literally Dave decided to have the concert so far away. So, just getting back into the car like 5 seconds ago. But yeah, bye.
All right, so that is Olivia. She is fearless. She is a social butterfly. Her brother is not. He does not like to go places. Actually, I was staying in Chicago for a couple days before I went up to where they are in Wisconsin, and they came down for the day, and it was like 90 degrees, and I was going to show them my favorite place to run in the Chicago area, which is the lakefront in Evanston, right on the northwestern campus, and it kind of veers off a little bit. I was going to show them there's some cool things you can do there. There's a playground, and they also had to walk. I was like, I told you, it's going to be a walking tour. We're going to walk you down the lake and show you some cool things. And it was so hot that Mason, he wore pants. He did not listen to his mom. He wore pants in 90-degree weather. He had pants on, and he had to go like cool off and get ice cream. So it was pretty funny because he got hot pretty quick. And I think this is Olivia has not been back to Chicago since that trip that we had last year. They came down and I showed them the lakefront. Let me see if Aaron is, I don't see that he's in, but if he does come in, we'll get back to him. All right. So what else is there? So what we do from here is the band's going to take July 4th off, and we're just over the halfway point of this tour. And then they're going to go to Toronto. And so this next show is, to me, going to be a pivotal show because Toronto has always, I was reading some comments. I love to hear perspectives. Even if you have a different perspective than me, I'll hear it. I'll listen to it. Like tonight, someone wanted Watchtower to close, which again, that's a popular closer for the casual fan. But Toronto fans are kind of anxious about this show because they feel sometimes they don't get a lot of deep cuts. Dave kind of plays the hits because it's another country, and most of the fans know the hits. But there's fans from the GTA, Greater Toronto area, and they do like deep cuts. They will go to a show. They will cross the border and go to shows in Buffalo area or other parts of upstate New York. They will go to SPAC. And so they're used to going to a SPAC and getting these deep cuts, and they want to have that in their hometown. And so Dave does not always deliver these deep cuts and rarities. Sometimes you get one song. You go back to 2012 and we look at that show. That was the show before my second show ever, the Air Canada Center. This was a memorable show because you got Dreaming Tree in Toronto at the Air Canada Centre. This is an arena that has only been a house of suffering for Toronto Maple Leafs fans. The Raptors did win a title here, but back in 2012, they had not won a title. So to have that Dreaming Tree come in, right, to get a Drunken Soldier in the two-step in the encore, this was like the last time there was a glimmer of hope for Toronto getting a special type of set. Typically, they just kind of get some things. They also got Broken Things, which is a very rare song. They did get Broken Things. It's funny looking back at these sets. Belly Belly Nice was frequently played in this era, and then it went away forever. But the band had a great time playing that song back in 2012 when Away from the World came out. Also trickled into 2013 and then a little bit after, then it went away. So this is the last show. 2012 is the last show where you really saw them play it out. And again, my second show was Mohegan Sun Arena there. So they'll go from Chicago to Toronto, and then after that they have Clarkston, Pine Knob. And I think for both of these shows, Toronto and Clarkston, which is really the Detroit Metro, I still have a forecast that you're going to have the uniqueness that you've had throughout this tour, where one night stands don't have repeats from the previous one night stand or even the previous night too. And if there is a repeat, typically it's Peace on Earth or it's maybe one other song. And then you get to Deer Creek, right? For the 11th and the 12th. So that's what we have looking ahead. And here we are tonight. Yeah, I'm very happy with the state of the tour. I'm just happy with where this band is, and I think even with this, just let the band play its music. There's been tours I'm really concerned about how this band, when we let Dave write his set list. But there's something different in it. Even last year, the July, and even 2023 July, there's just some things that this band is Dave said some years ago. He's like, I don't care what people think about the sets and all that. But it seems like since this pandemic, especially 2023, July of 2023, July of 2024, some of the gorge runs in 23 and 24, the band is actually doing more to say, hey, how can we really shock these fans? How can we mess with these fans? Dave yet again tonight said, hey, this is a tiny little song, and it was Fool to Think. Fool to Think is not a tiny little song. So he's kind of messing around, right? He made another reference to a Bathroom Break song earlier in the show from when I remember on the Couch Tour. For the second show in a row. So he's kind of messing with people. He knows that people have bathroom break songs. He knows that people, he can say it's tiny little, but people are actually chasing or they want these songs to come around. And ultimately, even if you're saying, well, yeah, Fool to Think was played last year. Even if you're saying, well, Last Stop was played last year. You have a lot of fans who may have missed those shows. And maybe they went to this Chicago run. Maybe they only go to Chicago, and so they haven't been on tour haven't seen a tour stop since Chicago 2023. And for those fans, you got a treat tonight. So I'm going to let this band play. I know I've been very critical over the years. I've pushed for things. I still believe in certain things as far as the band, the composition of certain pieces. I still don't understand. I'm still not a fan of Crush's jam sections. I think it should be shorter. You have no violin. Okay, shorten the jam. We don't need trumpet and electric guitar for as long. Shorten it. Just make it shorter. Do some things with the trumpet and the sax. That's a little bit more unique at the end. Carter's just B. Carter. He's fine. But everyone else, I just want a little variety. But at the same time, it's still a hit. It's still a song that probably one of the loudest moments of the show was during Crush. But nonetheless, I'm just going to trust this band, and they're serving different portions of the fan base. That's a win for everybody. And we still are not at the Deer Creeks, I almost said Alpine Deer Creeks, the SPAC. We're still not even there yet. Chicago, this weekend was overlooked because of the fears of the venue. And I think some people, Aaron, we talked to last night, I saw other people, James, I think James on X said, hey, this venue was not as bad. And Wayne, Olivia's father, who didn't go, he stayed home with Mason. Mason wanted to grab something to eat from a local taco place. And so that's how you do it as parenting. Sometimes, one of the parents stays home with the other kid, and you bring the other kid, the more social kid goes out to the concert. But Wayne texted me, Olivia got Blackjack and What You Are before her dad. And those are songs that Wayne has wanted. So I think it's kind of funny. Sorry, Wayne. It's funny that Olivia's like, yeah, let's go to the show. Yeah, mommy, let's go. And she gets What You Are and Blackjack before you. Anyway, yeah, let me just see. I'm going to look at, let's transition. I'll put it up on here. But I think it was James who was at these shows and said it wasn't as bad. I think that obviously when multiple people are saying that, and this is not just people messaging me. I saw it on message boards, the DMB Alpine. Someone else said that as well. Ryan says, last time I got What You Are, this isn't on, I'm looking at people replying to me on X. Last time I got What You Are was 2003. Great night tonight. Yeah, this is James. All right, so let's pull this up. And thank you, James, for responding at Gold Cold Snow. There it is. And I've seen him on X for years. But he said there are 2 nights. These 2 nights were the furthest. Let's zoom in so you guys can see. Sorry, you guys can't see. If you're. Here we go. Right. So these 2 nights were the furthest thing I expected on the set list, which was amazing. So he was shocked in a good way about how great these are. Also, a hot take. I didn't mind the venue better than what I expected. So there's been a lot of horror stories about Northerly Island and the lawn and some of the seating. And a lot of people, not just like 1 or 2, but I've seen a bunch of different posts and people talking to me personally, messaging me saying, hey, this thing was not as bad as the horror stories I heard. And so some people saying the lawn wasn't as bad. Some people saying the seating was not as bad. I still say the walking is a lot. Again, I've walked all around. I did if I go back to I could look it up, but I did a day in Chicago where I actually went to Soldier Field. You see some of the intro video. So I've been in Chicago 2022 and 2024 ahead of Alpine. And I spent time just exploring the city, driving through various parts of the city, being on I-90, the Dan Ryan Expressway, on a Sunday when all the travel traffic, people are all traveling different ways to get home from summer vacations to get back to work. So I've been through a lot, obviously only 2 trips, but I've literally made the most of it. And so I know how I've kind of have a little bit of a feel of Chicago in June and July as a tourist specifically, not as a local living in the suburbs, but as a tourist in the city. And that's what you are. If you're a fan, you're doing what I did. And so there's it can be a little bit of a trek. And so if you're not downtown It can be a trek to walk to your parking spot if you have a rental, or to walk to your to the public transit, or get an Uber, and then everyone has to walk out of the island, get back to Chicago proper, and figure out how to get back to wherever you're staying. So that can be a lot. When there are storms, when there are severe thunderstorms or wind or rain, that can be a huge pain, because even if you're parked as close as possible to that venue, you still have to walk a bit. There's no covering out there on Northerly Island. When you get out of that, when you exit the venue, you're in the elements. And people got soaked that year. There was those where the show was cut short because of the weather. There were speakers swaying because it's right on Lake Michigan. So I think there are pros and cons, but I think people found that this year the weather cooperated. The wind is always going to be, there's always going to be a breeze from what it sounds like, but it was not as breezy as it can get out there in the Windy City. All right. I'm going to end the show. But what I will do is, by the way, I'll be at Goose in New Haven, Connecticut tomorrow. They had a big show. Well, it was funny too. Shout out to Meg on X or everywhere. But she made a good point. She was like, Dave got mad that all these D&B fans were at MSG. Including shout out to Lucas. Lucas is from the Midwest, from Wisconsin, and he actually is in MSG. He's not at D&B Chicago. He's at Goose at MSG, and I think the people who went to Goose tonight, I don't think they regret it at all. This was arguably one of the biggest shows, if not, it's the biggest show in the band's career so far. But arguably, even from a setlist perspective, I'll have to check back. I saw parts of people posting songs and clips, but this seems like this was a big day for Goose, selling out MSG, and to have the set. They played past curfew, and MSG has a very strict curfew. Those unions don't play, so there must have been strings pulled to make an exception or to pay the fine. But from what I saw on a night I'm focused on DMB and getting this post-show stream ready, that this was it was a special show. And so I'll be at Goose in New Haven tomorrow or tonight. Later today. It's 1:41 Eastern. So I'll be down there in New Haven, and I'm excited about that. They're another great act out of Fairfield County, Connecticut. And so they've been doing great things, and they come back to Westfields, where I saw my first Goose show. This will be my third show at Westville. Am I at 5 or 6 shows for Goose? I don't know. There's like a lot of halves, because I went to the Taboo show, and I went to Taboo tour, Mohegan, and I went to Soul Shine. Oh, excuse me. So I'll be down there, but I'm going to close out with a montage of Chicago that I put together in 2022 for my DMB road trip video that I did a little bit of a mini series back in the day. Boy, has my video quality been upgraded since then. You'll see a little bit of that. But one of the songs that I hope to hear, I don't even know if they played it tonight. That's how much I've been in the DMB. People who posted about songs played, I didn't look at the set list. But I would love to hear Slow Ready. Let me just check real quick to see if they played it. What did they play? Factory Fiction, Hunger Sailor. So I guess they could play Slow Ready. I would love to hear Slow Ready. I'm mad they played Into the Mist at Guilford. That's the song. That's like the number one chase for me for Goose. But I would love Slow Ready here. But yeah, they did. Wow, they did a thing tonight. They definitely did their thing tonight. And okay, yeah. Wow. I saw the Factory Fiction. I was like, everyone was posting about the open up. They played that at Mohegan when I went, which is one of those rarities, I guess. I don't know. I got it my second or third show. I got it my third show. I don't know. But Factory Fiction. Shout out to Goose. I'm going to stop rambling. Let's close this out with Slow Ready looking at Chicago. It's your boy Conserviz 34. I will see you guys later. Peace.
Baby, on the way, I was melting like ice on the back of my spine. Where we going tonight? You know, I saw that eye in the corner of the light, playing games with my mind. It's going down.